Preparing for a reading session. Before starting a reading with your cards, you need to prepare and cleanse your tarot deck. When it comes to cleansing your tarot deck, there are many ways to do so, but there are two main methods. There is a big cleanse and a small cleanse. A big cleanse is done after getting a new tarot deck or after your tarot deck gets tired, because yes, this can happen. Your tarot deck can get tired, and that's when it starts to not respond properly to your questions, giving you confusing messages, or sometimes giving you the same cards over and over again. This is something that can happen if you've overused your deck. It's a sign that the tarot deck has unwanted energies attached to it, so it needs a big cleanse and to be stored away. Sometimes this could also be a sign that you need a break from reading tarot, but don't worry, this doesn't happen very often. Another time when you need to do a big cleanse is, let's say you read for a client and this client is going through a really challenging time and you could feel the heavy energies in the reading, weighing you and the cards down. To prevent the negative energies from spreading to your next readings, which can give you confusing messages and block your intuition, you need to do a big cleanse to the cards and shuffle properly afterwards. Maybe even store the deck away and use another deck to read for your next client. As a general rule, if you got a new tarot deck, or if you feel that your tarot deck is not responding properly and has heavy energies, you need to do a big cleanse. For this, you need to use incense. This is how I cleanse my tarot deck. First, make sure you have a clean space. Pass some incense smoke in a counterclockwise movement to cleanse your space. I like to do a smoke cleanse on the whole deck using incense. Then I cleanse the new deck card by card, passing each card through the incense smoke. When you're done, pass the whole deck above the incense smoke. Then, shuffle the cards in the way you feel comfortable with to complete the cleansing of the deck. Shuffling is a good way to cleanse your cards from stagnant, unwanted energies. I also like to cleanse the package as well. Some people like to keep their tarot deck in sunlight or place a clear quartz crystal, amethyst, or selenite on top of the deck and leave it overnight. If you decide to do this, be careful of placing the crystal in sunlight because some crystals can be sensitive to sunlight. So, when do you need to do a small cleanse? A small cleanse can be done in between readings and before you start your reading session. You don't necessarily need to use incense for this, but if you want to use incense, you can simply pass the deck through the smoke without having to cleanse it card by card. What I like to do is that I shuffle very well 3 times like this, and then I shuffle as I normally would. I knock on the cards 3 times to spread my energy into the cards and to let my spirit guides know that I'm beginning a reading session. Some people also like to blow on their cards, and that's also a way to connect with the cards energetically. Useful tips to know about cleansing and storing your tarot deck. You don't need to over-cleanse your deck before or after each reading. In fact, it's good to leave some energy in there. You don't necessarily need a cloth to store your deck of cards. You can use a bag, velvet, cotton, silk, anything but plastic, or you could use a wooden box. Use a white cloth to cleanse the energies in the deck and to purify it for your next use. Use a black cloth to keep the energies in the deck. Shuffling and pulling tarot cards. The goal of shuffling the cards isn't only to mix them, but it's also to cleanse the deck from energies of previous readings and stagnant energies in general. Shuffling infuses your energy into the cards, making the interpretation more accurate and specific. There is no right or wrong way to shuffle the cards. You can shuffle them the way your hands feel the most comfortable with. An important thing to keep in mind before shuffling is that there are many cards that have different sizes. Some cards are bigger than others, some are smaller, so we need to take that into account. Here's how I shuffle my cards. I hold the deck in the palm of my right hand, since I'm right-handed. Then I pick a bunch of cards with my left hand and mix them with the rest of the cards. Repeat this over and over again, at least 3 times. Then put your cards on the table and cut the deck in half. Place each pile parallel to the other, like so. Hold the deck like this with your thumb and 3 fingers and have your index finger on top of each pile to hold it in place. Use your thumb to overlay each of the cards, like so, to mix them. Repeat this as many times as you like. When you feel like you've shuffled enough, knock on the cards 3 times to let your spirit guides know that you're ready to begin your session. Next is to shuffle your cards for a reading. Whether you're doing a reading for yourself or for others, this is how you set your intentions, even if it's a 1-card reading. After you've shuffled your deck properly, knock on your cards 3 times and reshuffle. This time, the purpose of shuffling is to set your intention and connect with your spirit guides. So while you're shuffling, think of your question. Focus on that question and shuffle at the same time. It's important that you don't get distracted and think of something else, like what's for dinner. When you're shuffling, you need to focus on your question in order to get an accurate reading. If you're reading for someone else, you could shuffle while thinking of their name and the question they are asking. Now that you've shuffled and focused on your question, here is how you pick your cards. Cut the deck, reassemble, and pick. There are plenty of methods on how to pick the cards. There is no right or wrong way to do it. However, this method is commonly used by psychic mediums who do readings in person. I share more about this method in the video Reading for Others in this course. Place the deck on the table again, face down. Cut the deck in half or into 3 sections. Then reassemble it. Pick it up from the table and start pulling your cards from the top of the deck one by one. Place the cards on the table. I don't generally use a specific spread. I mostly read intuitively. I pick 6 or 8 cards and I lay them from left to right. If you're using a spread, you can lay them out in a spread. Important things to keep in mind when you're using this method to pick the cards. When you pick the cards from the top of the deck, be careful to not flip them upside down like this. The messages will be completely different. So always make sure to flip the cards from left to right and not from top to bottom. When you flip the cards in an upside down position, the whole message changes. When you cut your deck in half or into 3 sections, reassemble it without turning one of the sections upside down, especially if you don't like to read in reverse. Another method that you may have seen many readers on the internet use is that they shuffle until they get cards flying out of the deck. Then they arrange them according to the order they flew out in, or intuitively. Some readers use the fan shape spread, and this is another method you can use to pick your cards. After shuffling, lay the cards out on the table in a fan shape, face down. Then, intuitively, and with your question in mind, choose your cards, the ones you feel mostly drawn to. Don't doubt your intuition. The first cards you want to choose, take them without hesitation and place them face down in front of you. Then you can turn them over and start reading. Whatever method you choose to pick your cards is valid. You just have to follow your intuition and shuffle the cards in the way that suits you best. Know that the cards will automatically arrange themselves the way they should be. The order in which they appear is never a coincidence. Useful tips to know. When you're a beginner, reading cards in reverse can be very confusing, especially when you're still memorizing the meanings upright. For this reason, I recommend you to make sure that all the cards in the deck are in their upright position before you start shuffling. Getting ready to start a reading session. Before you start your tarot reading session, even if you're just reading for yourself, there are some things you need to prepare. First, make sure you're in a positive and calm state of mind. Never do a reading when you are tired, upset, agitated, anxious, or angry. If you need an urgent reading, wait until you feel calm and rested. The reason for this is that your vibe will attract the kind of reading you get. If you're in a negative frequency, you will get a generally negative and inaccurate reading. When you're in a low vibrational state, sad, anxious, or even exhausted, your intuition is blocked because your intense emotions get in the way of your intuitive reading. This causes you to either not understand the message or get negative and inaccurate readings. The key to an accurate reading is to silence the mind. If you're tired or experiencing intense emotions, you will not be able to focus properly. Let's say you're in a calm state of mind and ready to begin your reading session. Before you start, cleanse yourself with incense smoke by passing it along your body and around your head. Then cleanse your space, the table, or the space you will be laying your cards on, by passing incense smoke in a counterclockwise direction. If you feel like your cards need some cleansing, pass the deck through the incense smoke. Then sit in a comfortable position. What I like to do is I like to close my eyes, meditate for 2 to 5 minutes, asking my spirit guides for assistance and my angels for protection. This will also help prepare my mind for doing readings. You could keep a glass of water next to you as an offering to your spirits for protection. Keep in mind that you may get thirsty during readings, so make sure to stay hydrated. Some tarot readers recommend having an athame as a tool for protection from trickster spirits. Other readers choose to cover their crown chakra before doing a reading by wearing a scarf to protect themselves from foreign energies from their clients attaching themselves to them, because energy attaches itself to you through the crown of your head and the back of your neck. I also like to light a white candle before I start my readings. It helps me focus and it attracts good spirits and energy.